Plunder. Wayland's cloak brushed along the sand, gathering decaying seaweed and sand fleas as he dragged his feet while following the other sorcerers. He didn't want to be here, and they knew it. Still, he resolved to keep his promise, even though they had withheld information from him. Now that he was here on the island of Chonisi, he realized the collusion they were about to embark on, and it curdled his gut. He wished he had never volunteered to help. Cold, damp slit under his feet. His clothes heavy with the weight of fog, slowed his hesitant steps. The stink of rotting kelp, shellfish remains, and mud clung to him. He glanced over his shoulder. Though shrouded in a dense cloud, he could still hear the rumble of the ocean waves and the low, groaning sounds of the Admiral's ships. How did I get myself into this situation? Wayland winced as jagged rocks dug into his heels. The sorcerers strutted ahead of him as if they were calloused and felt nothing, not the damp and chilly atmosphere, nor the bruised feet, nor guilt or remorse for what they were doing. Yet here he was, following them around like a lamb, bending to their will and bearing all the pain. When they reached a clearing, a man and a woman set a box and a gilded chest on the ground. He liked those two alchemists. They never displayed hostility like the others. In fact, they had shown him such kindness that Wayland wasn't sure if they came from the Neverworld or not. The man alchemist opened the box, took out an assortment of tools and metal gadgets, and assembled a funnel-shaped machine that stood at an equal height to a tall man's chest. 4 legs made of poles supported a gearbox attached to a copper funnel. They screwed in a brass tube to the bottom of the funnel and, after lifting the lid to the gilded chest, lay the other end of the tube into it. The 7 sorcerers encircled the chest and, once the machine was assembled, held their hands over the coffer. A golden glow surrounded them as they cast magic from their fingertips. The alchemist stepped back and looked at Wayland. That was his cue. He took a deep breath. It was his duty to call out the incantation while the others gathered Chonisi's magic and directed it into the machine. He closed his eyes and took another deep breath, hating every second of the ritual. "Why leave the reaping up to him?" someone whispered. "It's his talent, and the Admiral's orders. If I had my way, I'd shove sand down his throat." "Be quiet!" The charm's power vibrated through Wayland, silencing the surrounding whispers, and he had no choice but to yield to the surge of magic he was summoning. His skin prickled as the chant leaked out of his pores. Every cell in his body echoed the monotonous tone, creating a wind, billowing his robe, jetting his hair into the air. The sorcerer shuffled across the sand as if floating on the sound. Swishing of the robes heightened his senses. The machine made a sucking sound, then choked out air, its gears beating to the rhythm of an unseen drummer. His chant grew louder. His muscles trembled uncontrollably as flashes of light brightened his closed eyelids. "Why does it have to work every time? I'd be a lot less miserable if my chants failed." The seas responded to the reaping, lashing at the beach with angry surf. The tide rose, clapping at the sand. A shrill whistle in the air gave Wayland a start, and he opened his eyes. The chant caused the fog to swirl and thicken, forming a dark, ominous cloud around the sorcerers, its suffocating stillness broken only by their eerie voices. Sand flew into the air, stinging his feet, his cheeks, his eyes. He could see nothing but the open chest, the machine's gears sparking as it spun, the sorcerers, and the darkness that surrounded them. "Don't stop!" someone cried out. Wayland raised his voice, his throat aching. The power lifted him off the ground and he gulped. He hated this part of the magic. As the machine sucked in the clouds, a marble of white liquid entered the funnel with them. "What is that?" an alchemist asked. "Curses," the sorcerer's Aramid groaned. "A taint of goodness the natives sealed into their magic. I'll have to sift it out. Continue, Wayland." Aramid's witchery burned the shining, white ripples away, and in it came cries of foreign voices as if the natives themselves were ablaze under her spell. The sorceress captured the rest of the island magic, wringing the dark and terrible clouds into the rope that twisted and churned into the machine, the gears of which whirled and smoked. Steam puffed through its vent. As it traveled through the tubes, the magic transformed into liquid metal and dripped dollop by dollop into the chest. Wayland shivered. More raw power streamed into that vault than he had ever seen in his lifetime. "This will take time," Aramed prompted, weaving in and out of the sorcerers who were sweating from the labor. "Get it all. There's a lot of magic here. The chests must be filled. Don't falter, Wayland." Wayland's voice cracked, and his throat burned. He wouldn't be able to speak again for weeks. He kept his word, though. Maybe he could leave those vagabonds to their evil endeavors and use his talents for something useful when this is over. "Louder!" Wayland raised his voice as best he could and closed his eyes again. At least, if he didn't watch what they were doing, he wouldn't feel so guilty. What an atrocity! Stealing magic! Just do what I'm told. That's why I'm here. To do what I'm told.